You're watching section 6.2 rates. Okay, this is going to correlate to what we did the day before with our ratios, except rates are just a different type of ratio. Okay, a rate's a ratio comparing two quantities with different kinds of units. Okay, so today, for example, we're comparing money to pounds. Okay, these money and pounds are obviously different types of units. Okay, it's the same process. We put the first one over the second. Okay, so $12 over 3 pounds. That's how we would correctly write the rate, okay, of $12 for 3 pounds. A unit rate is the rate for 1 unit of a given quantity. Okay, so if I want to know how much it's going to cost for 1 pound, I want to find the unit rate per 1. Okay, you see this often. You often see a unit rate. The speed limit is a unit rate. 65 miles per hour. It's per 1 hour. Okay, how much you're going to pay at the grocery store per ounce, per pound, per candy bar, per pop. That is a unit rate because it's per 1. Okay, so this we're going to see quite often. So in order to find a unit rate, for example, for $12 for 3 pounds, is you know that you want this to be per 1 pound. And if I want it to be per 1 pound, I'm going to divide 3 by 3 to get 1. And then whatever I divide the denominator by, I'm going to divide the numerator by as well. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that means that this, or per 1 unit, for the unit rate, it would be $4 per pound. Okay, $4 per pound. Okay, if it's per pound per ounce, that means you did it correctly. Sometimes you'll notice that this is going to be a decimal, which is fine because we pay $1.50 for things, or $1.25. Okay, and that's fine. It's okay for the answer to be a decimal. What's important is that your denominator is the number 1. Okay, and that's what we have to be careful of. So we're going to go ahead and basically your homework tonight is dealing all the way with unit rates. So it says find each unit rate, round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. It's important that you make sure you pay attention to the rules, your directions, rounding to the nearest hundredth. Remember the hundredth spot is 2 places behind the decimal. So if you need to round, you're looking back at actually the thousandths spot, okay, to decide whether you're going to round up or down. Okay, all right, so I have 220 miles on 8 gallons. And once again, you're allowed to use a calculator, so feel free to do that. So 220 miles is my numerator for every 8 gallons. Okay, so I would assume this has to do with how far you can travel on 1 gallon of gas. Okay, since I'm finding my unit rate, I know I want the answer to be 1 gallon. Oops. So if I want it to be per 1 gallon, I know 8 divided by 8 equals 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. And whatever I do to the denominator, I have to then do to the numerator. So I'm going to take 220 divided by 8. So if you need to plug that in your calculator, please do so. 220 divided by 8 is 27.5. Okay, so I don't have to worry about rounding to the nearest hundredth because my answer ends on the tenths. And that's 27.5 miles. Oops. Okay, so you can leave your answer like this if you want, but you have to make sure that you have the units in your answer because we have to make sure we understand, just like for a ratio, what this represents, what this actual ratio, this rate represents. Or I can write it as 27.5 miles per gallon. Okay, because per gallon means per 1 gallon. All right, so they can travel 27.5 miles per gallon of gasoline. Okay, let's go to our next one. We have $3 for 6 cans of soda. So $3 for 6 cans. Okay, because it's a unit rate, once again, I want this number to be 1 can. I want it to know how much the price would be for 1 can. So I'm going to take 6 divided by 6, which is 1. And 3 divided by 6. And I want you to pay attention to this. It's $3 for 6 cans. So if I want 1 can, I know it's going to be less than $1 because I'm getting 6 cans for the price of $3. So you're not doing 6 divided by 3. you're doing 3 divided by 6. So plug that into your calculator, and you're going to get 0.5. Now, because this represents money, we know we can't leave it as 0.5. That doesn't make sense. All right? We can add a 0 here, and then we know it's 50 cents. 0.5 does not mean 5 cents. 0.05 means 5 cents. So we're going to add a 0, so there's something in the hundredths spot. And the answer is 50 cents for 1 can. Or I could write 50 cents per can. Either of those is the correct way to write your unit rate. Okay, the next one takes a little bit more work, which is fine because we're good at these unit rates. We know it's pretty easy. The cost of 4 different sizes of orange juice are shown in the table. Which container costs the least per ounce? Okay, so we need to find what the cost is going to be per ounce. So in this table, I have 4 different sizes of orange juice, and I want to know the cost per ounce. So because I want to know it per ounce, I'm going to take the price of $1.28, and I'm going to put it over the number of ounces in that particular container of orange juice. Since it's per ounce, the ounces have to be on the bottom. So you're going to have to, that's another thing you're going to have to pay attention to when you're doing these problems. So I have $1.28 per 16 ounces. I'm going to go ahead and write the rest of them out. We'll call this type A, container A. Container B is $1.92 for 32 ounces. Container C is $2.50 per 64 ounces. Container D is $3.36 per 96 ounces. Okay, and we want to find per 1 ounce. So I'm going to go ahead and start. When I'm looking at this container A here, I'm going to divide by 16 because I want my denominator to be a 1. Okay, and that is 1 ounce. 16 divided by 16 is 1 ounce. We're going to plug these into our calculator. So 1.28 divided by 16 is 0.08. So this is going to cost 8 cents per ounce. On container B, I'm going to divide by 32 because, once again, I want to know it per 1 ounce. That's the unit rate. So 1.92, and once again, I'm doing this in my calculator, so I want you to do it as well. 1.92 divided by 32 is going to be 0.06, so 6 cents per ounce. On my next container, I'm going to divide by 64, because 64 divided by 64 is 1, so that's my per 1 ounce. And 2.56 divided by 64 is 0.04. Okay, so I'm paying 4 cents per ounce. And then on my last container, I'm dividing by 96 because 96 divided by 96 is 1. So that's my 1 ounce. So 3.36 divided by 96 is going to give me 0.035. Okay, now that is not an actual change amount, but I'm going to keep it like that because if I double that, 0.035 times 2 or add it to itself, you're going to get 7 cents. So for 2 ounces, I'm paying 7 cents. Now, if I look at this one, because I would round this actually to 0.04, if I look at this container, knowing that this costs 7 cents per 2 ounces, and I double this, it's going to be 8 cents per 2 ounces. So what would actually be cheaper? It would actually be container D, okay? So for these, I want you to look at the full number and decide what is the smallest. Because I want to know what container costs least per ounce. Well, it's actually container D. I don't want you to round this up because since we're buying more than 1 ounce at a time, and you are because you're buying this whole container, okay, it's actually going to be cheaper to get container D. So container D, or container, the container. Let me try this again. Let me erase this. I don't like the way I'm phrasing it. So the 96 ounce container is the cheapest per ounce. Okay, another thing I want you to keep in mind is all of this here has to be part of my answer. Okay, I need to see that you're doing all the work. And even though you're using our calculators, which is great, I want to understand and see how you got this answer. So please make sure you're showing your work. Just putting which container is the cheapest is not good enough for me. Okay, so make sure you're showing your work. And our last problem. An assistant cook peeled 18 potatoes in 6 minutes. At this rate, how many potatoes can he peel in 50 minutes? Okay, so right here is my rate. So 18 potatoes per 6 minutes. Okay, so what I want to do first is go ahead and find this unit rate. I want to know how many potatoes he peels in 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to divide this by 6, divide this by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So he peels 3 potatoes, okay, per 1 minute. Now, if he does 3 potatoes per 1 minute, I want to know how many potatoes he's going to do in 50 minutes. So I can convert this 1 to 50. It's not easy for me to convert 6 to 50, but I can convert 1 to 50 if my pen will work. I'm going to bring it down here because it's not letting me write up there. 50 minutes here. I know 1 times 50 is 50, so I'm going to take 3 times 50. 3 times 50 is 150. So I have 150 potatoes per 50 minutes. So my question is, at this rate, how many potatoes can he peel in 50 minutes? He can peel 150 potatoes. And that's my answer. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking this and I'm breaking it down to the unit rate. And once I know the unit, how much he's doing per 1, I can then easily convert it to 50. Okay, so scaling back to the unit rate is going to end up working out easily for us because we know any number times 1 is going to be itself. So I can just take that 1 times 50. Okay, if you have any questions, make sure you ask Mr. Kohlinger or I tomorrow. But this is the end of the section 6.2. Please review any parts or play over any parts that were a little bit confusing to you, just in order to help clarify some things for you before you start your homework tomorrow. Okay, thanks for watching.